Hello everyone, my name's Jan. Welcome to my little cottage in Dorset. Today I'm going to share some of my holiday memories from the 1950s and the 1960s and a little bit from the 1970s, and hopefully we'll have some fun because holiday time, in my book anyway, is the most exciting time of the year. Now, the first thing you have to think about when you're going on holiday, and as a child it was the first thing I always thought about the second we got home from the last one, was saving up for the next one. We used to have money tins, piggy banks, all sorts of things. This is a little threepenny collecting box. It says threepence a day put in here saves you £4.11 each year. Now that would go a very long way to your holiday pot, wouldn't it? This is from Breen Sands in Somerset. We also used to have a tin like this, which has got different slots in it for different savings. Inside, oh, I got my old 10 bob notes in here. Gosh, 10 bob, you could get a week shopping with 10 shillings back in the day. And I would put my pennies, my florins, my half crowns, there's a half crown on here, sixpenny bits, anything from birthdays, Christmases, special occasions, anything I'd earned helping neighbours would go in my holiday funds, because I used to like buying little bits and pieces when I got there. So you'd have collection pots like that, or this one's rather nice. This is made of tin again. So that's the first thing you had to do, was get saving so that you could have a lovely holiday. Now, the next thing we all used to do was write a list. This is a very old one. This is from about the 1920s, 1930s. It's a traveller's reminder list, and it's made of metal again, and you wrote on it in pencil and rubbed it off when you'd finished. There's some very odd things on here. It says you must remember your razor and your strop, liver salts, iodine, brandy. That's a good one to remember. Linen hankies, fancy hankies, shoelaces, suspenders, galoshes, silk handkerchiefs, passport, thermos flask, and travel tickets, amongst other things. What a list. I don't think I had brandy on my list when I was little, that's for sure. So we were getting ready. Dad was in charge of the car. He was always in charge of the motoring. Just got to find his hat here. When Dad was driving, he always wore what he called a ratting hat, or a peaked cap. A lot of men used to wear these, and he also used to wear driving gloves. The old cars were quite drafty, weren't they? I think the first one I remember Dad having, a Wolsey 1300, and the wind used to blow in under the door, and the old van he had a bus seat in the back that wasn't even bolted to the floor, so that if you went over a bump, me and my sister, our heads had hit the roof as we went over. No seatbelts in those days, not so much health and safety either. So Dad would have his hat and driving gloves, but he was also responsible for the car, for getting it insured, and you had to carry motor insurance certificates with you for the police in case you got stopped. This is from 1967. Insurance here, £17, 14 shillings and 5p. That is 1966. I wish our insurance was £17, 14 shillings and 5p. It's gone up a bit since then. But Dad would make sure that the car was maintained, that he'd checked the oil and he'd checked the tyres and had the driving licence. Who had one of these, a little red driving licence? And you had to renew them every 3 years. These are the old tax discs. You don't get these anymore. If you look at cars nowadays, none of them have got these on. We used to spot them and say, oh, they haven't got their car taxed. If you went in the car, you had to have a GB sticker. I think you have to have a UK sticker now, for whatever reason. And if you went to France, you had to paint your headlights with a yellow paint, because that was the rules over there. So this is called fog coat, brush on liquid amber, and you could buy it from any car manufacturer. He'd have Vouchers for the RAC. This is Get You Home. He was in the Get You Home service, and they would promise to get you home. The AA and the RAC were the two main motoring clubs you could belong to. I've got the two badges here. And the men used to, the RAC and the AA used to wear uniform. If you saw them on the road, they would salute you if you had one of these badges on your car. If they didn't salute you, you knew there was a policeman round the corner and he might catch you for going a little bit too fast. So you had to be careful. They also gave you a key. Can't find it now, but you had a key to the phone box, and you could call them for help if you broke down. There weren't that many phone boxes about, but it was reassuring to know, if you were a member, that there's somebody who would come and help you if and when you broke down. So Dad had a hand pump. This is a hand pump in the car. Always carried this in case he had a flat tyre, so you could pump it up. Or he had a foot pump. It was just part of the paraphernalia of stuff we had in the car, and we just left him to it. Back in those days, the women got the picnics ready, the men maintained the car. It was just how it was. Mum wouldn't go anywhere without this. I call this my Queen's handbag. It's a bit like the Queen's handbag. She would have a spare pair of stockings, just in case she got a ladder, or if the fan belt went on the car, Dad would steal one of these and use it as a replacement fan belt till he got home. Mum also used to wear gloves. I've got some here, some leather gloves here. Let me see if I can find them both. Because again, the car was quite a drafty place to be, those old cars, nothing like the modern cars. And she would wear her headscarf. So, regardless of the weather, I do look a bit Princess Anne-ish, I think, in this. But it's what ladies wore. So she'd be off. Dad would be in his flat cap with his gloves on. Mum would be there with a headscarf and her sunglasses on, ready for anything. Where I grew up, our nearest seaside place was Weston-super-Mare, and we could sometimes go there on a day trip, which was great fun. I had an auntie who lived down there as well, so we could stay with her. But regardless, Mum always carried her beads, or her pearls as she called them, a lipstick, and powder puff, just so she could freshen up and look the part while she was out. Sometimes we'd be just going for a day out. We could get to Weston-super-Mare from where we live for the day, so we wouldn't need all our suitcases. We would possibly take a lovely picnic box. Look at this. It's so exciting to have a picnic. You'd park on the side of the road, get the flasks out, sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, bags of crisps, all that sort of thing. So exciting as a little girl. It was a real adventure to go and get the picnic box out. And we would also take with us a kettle and a little stove and a bottle of methylated spirits. So we would stop somewhere nice, but we'd stop, put the kettle on, have a cup of tea. Couldn't go too far without a cup of tea. And it was just lovely. But we'd take this if we were going for a week's holiday as well, so that we could have refreshments on the road. Not so many cafes about those days. Or we'd take a thermos flask. I've got a couple here. So these are my thermos flasks. Sometimes we would take soup in the thermos flask as well. This is a proper old one. This one is from Butlins. Has anyone been to Butlins? It was a big thing, wasn't it, back in the 60s? You remember the knobbly knee competitions and the beauty competitions? And it was huge business. And you can sometimes find bits and pieces that came from Butlins, just like this thermos flask, and you'd hang on to it so you could take it on your picnic next time. Fantastic. Right, so we're moving on. We're in the car. We've got our suitcases. Little one for the children. Always hard cases these were, weren't they? This would be one that I would put all my bits and pieces in, and we put stickers on them as well. Mum had a vanity case Remember the vanity cases? You could put all your perfumes and potions and bits and pieces in there and all the things you wanted every day, sort of like a day bag, if you like. Dad would have had, when he was packing, Mum had her vanity case. Dad had a case like this. That's for his toothbrush, a bar of soap, a little brush, a comb. He might have put some other bits of paperwork in there, and that was what he would take with him. And see if I can drag this one out. This would be, oh, goodness, that's heavy. This would be the family suitcase. So we'd have the big hard suitcases and we'd be packed up and off we'd go. I've got a couple of old guidebooks here. This is a Michelin Guide to the British Isles. This one's from 1914. And this is the RAC Guide, 1937. We used to have to look in the back of books like this. So again, if you're in the AA or whatever, you'd have a list in the back listing all the hotels in the area, all the campsites, anywhere you'd fancy staying. So that's where we found out where we were going. Or you could look in the paper. Dad always had his newspaper with him. And there were whole sections in the newspaper with a phone number, and you'd phone them up and book them. And that's how we found out where to go. Now, Dad would be driver. Mum was chief navigator. Oh, they used to have some arguments, I tell you. Mum would say, turn right, just as we'd gone past the turning, and Dad would get a bit cross about it. This is a very old map of Bristol. As you can see, there's no motorway. I like to think I can read a map, but I would struggle with this. I think I'd get us totally lost with this. Interesting though, this is made of linen, so it's made of cloth. It cost you a shilling back in the 1930s, but it would last because it wouldn't rip because it's on cloth. And tourist maps, this one is the Lake District. Again, huge, great unwieldy maps. And again, I would like to think I could map read, but there's no road numbers or anything on there. So I'm not sure I wouldn't get us totally lost. It's a wonder we didn't get more lost than we did. So lots of maps, lots of ways of getting there. As children, we were quite often given I Spy books. This was a special treat on holiday. Along with little cartoon books like Bunty and Mandy. They were special holiday specials. Another thing we always used to do, or take with us, was a pack of cards. It was big in our family. I don't know if you used to play cards. We used to play whist or snap or rummy, all sorts of different games. So we've gone to the seaside. We're in our little caravan or our tent or our bed and breakfast. We're desperate to get down the sea as quickly as we possibly can. Dad would have been smoking his pipe. So we'd have all been coughing and hacking away because we'd have been stuck in a car for hours, wanting a wee probably and saying, are we nearly there yet? Now, my favourite bit of the seaside was sandcastles. As a little girl, I had a bucket and a spade. This is an old tin one. Nowadays, you can't get these. They're all plastic. And when you got to the seaside, the shops were full of things to buy, like these flags to go on top of your sandcastles. I got the Welsh one there, look, and the Union flag, all sorts of things. And we collect shells and stones and decorate them and create gullies and carry water back and forth and have a wonderful time. We kept ourselves entertained for hours just with bucket of spade. That's all we wanted, and a bit of sand. Now, one of the first things we used to do as well was to buy a postcard. Got some naughty ones here. Nice girl, very well reared. We weren't allowed to look at these. Mum would be horrified if she caught us looking at the naughty ones. I married a man in a good position. Where was he? In a corner. But you could get pictures of where you were, lovely views, and send them to your friends or whoever was watering the plants back home. Send them a postcard to say, wish you were here. So you get those and a box of stamps or a big letter card. Remember the big letter cards? You could buy these and you could pretty much write an essay on the back because there's so much space. I used to send these to my friend Pamela, who I'd only seen a week before, and I was going to see the following week. And you'd think we hadn't seen each other for 6 months because I filled the back with what the caravan was like, what the sea was like, had we seen any boats, had we caught any shrimps, anything like that. It was down on my postcard and sent off. Fantastic stuff. And we used to buy presents for everybody. Of course, the most famous is the stick of rock. This is from West Bay, which is the nearest seaside to here. I was always fascinated how and why they got a name of the place going all the way through the rock. I'm still not 100% sure how they do that. It's very clever, isn't it? That's one of the little gifts you could buy from the seaside. If you were in Devon, you might buy some Devon violet perfume. This one's a little gift set with a lovely linen hanky with some Devon violets on the hanky. And another thing you could get from Devon is clotted cream in the post. Who'd know it? Clotted cream. You went to the post office where you were on holiday, filled out a form, how much cream you wanted to send, and the postman would deliver it hopefully quickly before it went off in his van. This is a present from Scotland. So this is a little tiny bottle of heather perfume and a little Scottish tartan hanky. So again, a lovely little gift. Or we would buy teaspoons with where we'd been on, even tea caddy spoons. And this is from Great Yarmouth, this one. This goes back to when we were still using proper tea. Now, taking photos. What a treat that was. Now, my first camera was a box brownie. It came in a little brown case, like this one here. So you could carry it round your neck. And the exciting thing was you had to hide in a dark room to change the film so you didn't overexpose the film. But that was a very basic little camera. After our holidays, we had to send the film away and we'd go to the chemist, Boots the chemist, or send it off to Kodak to get them developed. But I've got a whole array of cameras here. This one goes back even further. This is before the war. So this is 1920s, 1930s style camera. That's rather special, isn't it? Very heavy. You look at it down through there. I can't quite see. Oh, I can see through there now, and that folds up, very nifty, and you could carry that in a little case. The more touristy cameras were like this one here. So you'd have this, you'd have your sun hat on, you'd have this round your neck, and you would wind the film on, 36 or 24, or whatever film you had in there. Even a little space at the top to put your flash on. So if you're taking pictures at night time, hopefully you could get some that developed well. This is the Polaroid one, which I think they came out early 70s, and they developed your picture immediately. So you took the picture and it came out of a slot. I think I got it the wrong way up. Oh, no, I haven't. There we go. And waved it about in the air, and you got your picture immediately, which was amazing, like magic. Nowadays, people laugh at us because they've got all these modern cameras that just take, digital ones. So this is one of the Kodak film, how you'd have got your films back. You'd have had your negatives in there and your pictures, and we couldn't wait to get our pictures back. This is a picture of me. I'm the one with the curly hair in the pushchair. And luckily, my mum's written on the back that it's taken Weston-super-Mare Sunday school outing from Forshire Heath, 1959. So that you can tell how old I am now, can't you? So taking photos was a big, big part of what we did. Another part of what we had was these wonderful fold-up things that we could take with us in our suitcase. This is a travel iron. It's got all the adapters, so if you were going abroad, you could take it. I wouldn't dream of taking an iron with me on holiday now, but people used to carry travel irons. I've got an even older one here. I don't fancy plugging this one in. This would go into your light bulb, and you've got this tiny dinky little iron, so if your shirt or you needed to look smart, you could put that one quite easily in the suitcase. I've even got travel coat hangers. And pretty much everybody used to take one of these around, a little travel clock. Very handy, folds up flat, in your handbag, in your suitcase, job done. And I have got here, lots of people used to smoke. We were talking about pipe smoking. This is a portable ashtray. See, there's a place for the cigarette there. You put that on there, your ash goes in there, in your pocket. I can't believe it, some of these things that we used to do. It's amazing. As children, these are some of the things we used to buy. Badges to go on your anorak. Almost like a Girl Guide with all the badges down your arm. This here is sunburn cream. This looks horrible. It says it relieves the pain of sunburn and prevents septic infection. For the ones who used to go abroad, we never did. We never even considered it. It wasn't a consideration at all. But if you did, you need your passport. This is the old style British passport, and these went out when we joined the EU and we got these little red ones. But I think we're going back to these now. I'm not sure. But this one is what passports looked like in 1854. But look at this, you would know you were travelling somewhere special if you had a passport like that, wouldn't you? On the back, all the stamps from all the countries this person travelled to. My mum liked to read, and she would buy the latest Woman's Own. This one is July the 7th, 1949. That's a few years ago. This is a seaside edition and amazing pattern offer. This dress for sixpence. And inside you could send off and get this wonderful pattern. And Mum would make that quite happily and thought she'd look the bee's knees in that. But that's the sort of thing Mum would have. Or she was rather partial to a bit of Mills and Boon. Tender Conquest 2 and 6. These were quite cheap little books and they were good holiday romances and a lot of ladies loved them. Mum used to swap them with a lady down the road and they would share them. Now clothes, when we got to the seaside, something lovely like this. Now this is a little skirt from the 1950s, and I wonder if you can remember what they used to call them. They used to call them dirndl skirts. And it's based on the Austrian design. Very simple to make, very pretty, and so lovely to have something new to wear when you're on holiday. So that's for the ladies. I have a lovely little dress for the little girls when they're running around on the beach. Isn't that super? It's got little fishing boats and birds, seagulls and sand and so forth, and you feel really special. You really feel like you were on holiday and you were away from everything that was happening at home. Swimming suits. This one is from the 1940s. I think it's rather demure, don't you? I rather like that, and I don't think that would look out of place nowadays, do you? A lovely little skirt to protect your modesty. But as children, this will make you laugh, knitted swimming costumes. Whoever thought that was a good idea, I don't know. This is for a little girl or for a little boy. You'd get in the sea and it would stretch. And by the time you got out, it would be drenching out the water and round by your ankles. Absolutely not fit for purpose, really, but we all had them, and Mum would make those during the year, so we had a new swimming costume as we grew up. But I don't think I'll go back to that sort of thing, do you? I have another costume here. This was made in Germany, and it's really heavy. I mean, that is quite something. In fact, the ladies used to have preformed cups. I think you can get BBC World Service on those, don't you? They're rather large. And a zip up the front. Not too easy to get into if you're trying to get changed on the beach under a towel. I think that would be a little bit of a struggle. And at the back as well, there are all these hooks and eyes to do up. It'd take you about an hour just to get into your cosy, wouldn't it? One last little costume, and this is from the 1960s. And again, very pretty, very sweet. This would be for a little girl, and just the sort of thing I would have had when I was on holiday. The worst part about swimming was we were forced into these horrible rubber hats. These were really hard to get on your head because, let me have a go. And they smell as well. They felt very rubbery. Let's see if I can get it on. No, I'm not going to do that. Horrible things. We had to wear them if we went in certain swimming pools. It was the rule. The boys didn't have to for some reason. But if you were a girl, regardless if you had short or long hair, you had to wear a swimming hat. Got away with it at the beach a bit more. And Mum always used to have a toweling bag to put all the wet costumes and the towels and everything in to take back, so we could peg it on the line when we got back to the caravan or whatever. And Dad, meantime, would have been asleep with a knotted hanky on his head just to stop his bald patch getting burnt in the sand, in the sun. Now, what did we enjoy as treats at the seaside? This is the old property of Wall's Ice Cream, probably the most famous ice cream makers in those days anyway. Stop me and buy one, a 99, sixpence. I wish there were sixpence now. I paid £2 for one the other day, and that was part of going to the seaside, wasn't it? Getting a cone or a wafer or a big selection of ice lollies, actually. All sorts of things started appearing. I've got a very odd little glass here, and this is from Victorian times. And this little glass, it's solid glass up to there. It's called a penny lick. And there used to be street vendors back in the day when ice cream was first available, and they used to put a tiny scoop in the top of that and sell it to you for a penny. And that's why it was called a penny lick. Problem was, you then gave it back to the vendor, and he would give another ice cream to somebody else. A lot of the street vendors didn't clean the glasses between ice creams, and a lot of people got sick. Luckily, there was a man, it was either Austrian or Swiss, and he invented the ice cream wafer, and these quickly became obsolete because of the health issues. It was quite something to get ill just from eating an ice cream. The other thing you would have as a treat, of course, couldn't go to the seaside without some fish and chips wrapped up in a newspaper. They always taste better wrapped in newspaper. I don't know why, but I swear they taste better. Salt and vinegar. I've got the proper little salt shakers that you would have got in the seaside restaurants there. And off you went. Had your chips and your ice cream. You go to bed tired but happy. Now, some of us went camping. My dad hated it. He didn't like it at all. But we always took our torches. Great big things. Look at these. You've got red on the top. Quite handy if you broke down in the car as well, because it would warn other motorists that you'd suddenly stopped. But we had to have torches if we were camping or caravanning, because you had to run to the loo in the middle of the night. These were quite useful things to have. But some people went to Spain and places like that. This is a British Airways bag. It was something that you could get when you were going on holiday. inside here, I've got some brochures. That one's if you went to a visitor's guide to Japan, 1963. That would have been very brave, and can't imagine going anywhere past France or Spain or Italy back in those days. This is a BEA flight magazine. You can tell it's old because it's advertising cigarettes all the way through. No health warnings or anything. You used to be able to smoke on planes. Can you believe that? They would have smoking areas of planes, not thinking that it's going to go over everybody else. If you were very rich, you might have gone on Concorde. I wonder if anybody's been on Concorde, or anybody remember seeing Concorde going over. I've seen it fly over and I've heard the sonic boom. We were always worried about the weather when we were going on holiday. This is the little weather people. I've got the little ladies come out, so that means it's going to be fine. You can cheat with these, you can turn them round. This little fella is the nodding dog. And people used to have these in the back of the car. We used to decorate the back of our car. It was really weird. You could possibly have a nodding dog. Lots of people would have 2 cushions and a box of tissues, and you'd always see them all displayed out on the back seat of the car. But just, I can remember these really well. Very simple, quite fun to have. And another thing we'd get from the seaside, we'd buy exotic shells, and we'd make pictures out of them when we got home, maybe take them into school to show, and even make little animals or birds out of them. If you were going abroad as well, you might like to learn the language. This is Quick Spanish on records. 2 7-inch records, 33 1/3 RPM, 30 bob. Blimey, that's a lot of money. 30 bob. If you went to the Isles of Scilly, I don't know if anyone's been to the Isles of Scilly. I've been to Tresco, which is the most beautiful, beautiful gardens over there. Return fare, 2 shillings. And that is on the ferry from Land's End. And one other thing that reminds me of holidays are the donkey rides. This is a very old and a bit tatty donkey saddle. And you could spend 6pence and you would choose your donkey. They all had their names on their head collars. Poor old things, they always looked bored. And you would trot along the beach and have a wonderful time. And it was part of the whole experience, was to have your donkey ride, your ice cream, your chips in paper, get sand everywhere, collect the shells. Simple life, simple holidays, just going to the beach, staying in an old caravan. Wonderful times. Thank you very much for listening.